Justice with Judge Mablean will be life because in everything we do, it involves the law. Where's your witness?
In the evidence.
That's hearsay.
It's notarized.
I still say it's hearsay.
She's fair.
You're going to help these young men learn how to do this the right way.
Yes, Your Honor.
She's firm.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No, I don't need to say anything else.
She's honest.
I'm not your child and I'm not your friend. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
This is Justice with Judge Mablean.
All rise. Both parties, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Court is now in session with the Honorable Judge Mablean presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated. In the matter of Crystal Campos versus Doug McNair, you want him to pay you $728.10 for damages that were done to your vehicle while it was on his property. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, that's right. It's
An
overcharges.
auto repair shop.
Yes.
Okay, tell me why he should pay you.
Yes, Your Honor. So he should pay me because basically about 3 to 4 months ago, I went to get my car serviced by his shop. I had noticed that my car hadn't been working, and so I looked, or my neighbor came out and was able to help me and said, hey, you may need a new alternator. Now, he was able to jumpstart my car, and I brought my car to work that day, and from there, I remembered that about 2 to 3 months ago, I had my car serviced at the defendant's shop. He was reliable, he was inexpensive, so I gave him a call. I said, hey, I think I may need a new alternator. I want you to take a look at the car. I get off work around 5 or 6 p.m., and then when I gave him a call, he told me that the shop may be closed, but I said, I'm gonna get a tow truck driver. They'll bring the car to the shop, and can I leave it there? And the defendant said that that was okay, and that I can leave my car key in the drop box, in the mailbox slot. So I called the tow truck driver. He was able to drive my car, and then I asked a coworker to give me a ride to the shop. The tow truck driver arrived before I did, so by the time I arrived, the tow truck driver had unloaded the car from the bed, and had told me, Sal had told me that he had dropped off the key in the mail slot. So the following morning, I give him a call at 8 a.m., and the defendant is not there. Instead, the mechanic picks up the phone, and I say, you know, when can you start working on my car because I need it. The mechanic said I have to wait until the defendant is here because I don't know where your car key is. So an hour and a half passes. It's now 9:30, and the defendant calls me and says, we can't work on your car because your key is not here. At that point, I'm furious, because I had already followed all the instructions. I had left him a voicemail. So I leave work, I Uber to the shop, and then I'm looking around and I see there's surveillance cameras, and I start to get emotional. I start to cry a little bit because what I'm thinking is someone may have stolen my car key, and then I'm looking around and I see there's surveillance cameras. So I go to the defendant and I say, can I look at your footage?
So now he's there.
Now he's there.
Okay.
He's there. And he says, that's fine to look at my footage. I look at the footage, and then I finally get to the part, and I actually have photos here, Your Honor. So I brought photos, and we also have a video, so we can actually pull it up, and I can show you what I see, what I got to see with the footage.
Pull up the video.
Okay, so you can see there's this man, white shirt, dark jeans, sneaker, and he's coming from what looks like the front of the auto shop. At the front of the video, you can see that. And then what he had done, it seemed, is he was able to fish it out of the slot. He went to my glove compartment, he took my registration, he also took a black jacket and a portable radio that was quoted at about $500.
What kind of car you drive?
Well, I drive a Mercedes. after that situation happened and I showed him the police report, he couldn't work on the car, right? Because there was no way, the key was missing.
Okay,
there
so let me hear you. You didn't do the work on the car that she had left there, the alternator, right?
Yeah, the
Okay, so
alternator.
you couldn't work on the car because you didn't have a key.
Right, but I actually did end up fixing the car, Your Honor.
How?
Because since we didn't have the key, I thought to myself, well, let me try to figure out another option for her to get this car started. I have a friend that used to actually work for Mercedes, and he's a locksmith now, so he's very familiar with programming those keys. I gave him a call from Jasper, which is about 3 hours away from here, to see if he could come and give her a replacement key for her car.
Did you charge him?
And he had said,
She asked me. I told her, after I felt bad for her, I will cover the cost of the key. I believe it's around like $300 or so. Yeah, $300, I can do that for her. I verbally told her that.
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
I only agreed to pay. I have the
Yes,
receipt
But she
here.
didn't agree to pay $600 either.
that's exactly
Well, it was
right.
her car key. The
But
car
so
would have never
what?
got
You
fixed.
didn't tell her $600, you told her $300.
And later,
She basically emails me and tells me, well, you know, you didn't tell me about this foul neighborhood, and I do not want to live here. So I'm out of here.
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Crystal Campos, who is suing Doug McNair for property damage.
When he got there with the key, he was explaining to me that she has like a special turbo car or something that required a different type of key, which was $600. I paid the $600 anyway and charged her the other $300 because I had only
What other $300?
I only agreed initially to pay about $300 to get a key for her, and that key ended up being $600. So I gave him the $600 so I could have that key to fix the car. But when I gave her bill, I added that additional $300 from the $600 to her bill.
Why? You weren't supposed to be adding $300 to her?
I only agreed to pay. I have the
Yes,
receipt
But she
here.
didn't agree to pay $600 either.
That's exactly
Well, it was
right.
her car key. The
But
car
so
would have never
what?
got
You
fixed.
didn't tell her $600, you told her $300.
I told her
And he
it
told
was
me he could
about
cover it.
$300. I believe I can cover that.
Okay, and when it got to be $600, and the
That
man
wasn't
told you
something I
$600,
could-
you should have asked her would she pay $600.
Exactly.
Because you paid it, then you took it back. Because you charged
Well,
it
no,
to her.
I didn't take it back. I paid $300.
You were going to pay her $300. Pay
Right.
for $300.
Right.
You charged her $300. That's how she should have paid.
Right,
Because
but-
that's all
but
you told her
it's-
she had to
The
pay.
total is $600.
But you only told her you were going to pay $300. That's the cost of the
Right,
key.
so
You
if
never
it was
got her permission to
$600,
get $600. That's on you. You didn't get her permission to get $600. Okay, so that's over with. Now what are we talking about?
Exactly. So
Wait a
that-
minute. What's the next $728.10? Where it come from? What are you talking about?
So
300
what that
of
came
it is-
from was the extra labor charge. So what happened?
extra labor charge?
Exactly. So after figuring out the key situation, I left for work and I said, text me a quote. So he texts me a quote, and he says on the quote here, "Hello, Crystal. I checked out your car. You need a new alternator. The estimate is $1078. Do you want me to replace it for you?" So he gave me the quote of $1078, and to my understanding, you know, having worked with other mechanics, I mean, if there was additional charges, he would have let me know ahead of
The
time,
quote
right?
for the alternator is $1078.
The quote for the estimate is is $1078, yes.
Okay.
And he included labor in that quote too.
There is labor in the quote.
Yes, there's
Let me see
labor.
the quote. There's always labor included in an auto mechanic quote. There's labor and parts. That's
Yes.
the way auto mechanics quote.
Yes, and then
Exactly.
so what he had added there was extra labor, and that was the part
What is
that
extra labor? This $428.
The first price is labor included. The extra labor is because she has a turbo kit on her Mercedes, which requires you to when you put in an alternator on the Mercedes with a turbo kit, you have to take the engine apart, which takes more time.
That's still labor. So how you
Right,
gonna say
that's-
extra?
Right.
Because-
Labor is labor.
Because it's in addition to the original amount of
But see,
time that
up
I
here,
quoted.
on this top line, you don't say anything about labor.
Right, because that was my way of showing her that it was additional time by
That's
putting
exactly it, Your Honor.
extra labor.
He had
I
led
do
me
that
to
with all of my
believe
customers, and
it
no
was
one
very
ever seems to
similar
be
to the key
confused
situation.
about this aside from her. If I have extra labor
No,
charges,
no.
I itemize those extra labor charges.
No. A part for a vehicle is one thing, and you buy the parts, and the customer is entitled to know the cost of the part. Labor in an auto repair is another thing. The customer is entitled to know how many hours and what your charge is per hour for labor.
Yes, exactly. And
And I don't care nothing about extra, is labor. Whatever it costs you and however long it takes you, that's what you do. So I still don't understand what your problem, how you arrive at 728, and I'm going to give you about a minute to tell me.
so how I arrived at the 728 is the $300 plus the $428.10 that
Oh,
he
the
charged,
additional
the extra labor that he did not clarify or distinguish with me prior to.
And the $300 for the key.
Yes, that's how I
Okay.
arrived to
So
728.
the 1,078, do you know that includes labor?
That's what I thought included labor.
What do you mean
Seems like
thought
she
include?
wasn't confused, Your Honor.
No, when I got the code of 1078,
He quoted you
he
1078.
quoted me 1078, and that was
That was the estimate.
equipment, that was the part, and the labor, and he
Where
confirmed.
is the quote? The initial quote? From him, not
From
from...
him.
Okay. I checked out your car. You need a new alternator. The estimate is $1,078. Do you want me to replace it? And you said yes. So you owe him the $1,078.
Yes.
Because you asked him to replace it. Your beef is with the $300 for the key.
Yes.
You told her that you'd have a key made. You told us about $300 and that you'd cover it. So I'm not going to have her pay for the key that you said that you would make. The fact that the man charged you $600, you should have gone back to her and said that key is $600, not $300, before you accepted a key for $600, because she may not have been willing to pay $600 for the key to be made.
She told
You
me
made that choice.
She told me to do whatever I could as fast as possible to get her car fixed, because she was in a time constraint, and she was complaining to me about the Uber fees were getting excessive going back and forth to
Judgment
work.
for the plaintiff in the amount of $300.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $300.
I'm happy with what the judge said. I wanted to get that reimbursement with the $300.
I think this is bogus. I do not agree with what was just said here. I do not feel like I owe $300.
Coming up,
I saw people exchanging money for little baggies. I saw police being called. And that was only the first night.
you're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
This is the matter of Joel Parker versus Ashley Morgan. And Ms. Parker, you were suing her for the rent. You said she broke the lease, and you want the balance of, you want 2 months' rent paid by her. Is that right?
You bet.
Okay, and Ms. Morgan, your statement is, I left and broke the lease before my security. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so tell me what happened, Ms. Parker.
Well, I'm here today because she broke her lease and she needs to pay. She basically emails me and tells me, well, you know, you didn't tell me about this foul neighborhood, and I do not want to live here. So I'm out of here, and I'm leaving in a day. So I call her back, basically, and tell her, well, I'll give you a break, okay? I'll go ahead, I understand where you're coming from. I'll go ahead and just charge you the security deposit. And, you know, you have to give me 60 days vacate notice. So you're
How
going to
much
pay
is
for
the
that
security
60
deposit?
Yeah, and the security deposit, keep the security deposit and the 2 months, you know, rent.
How much was the security deposit?
Oh, $500, ma'am.
And how much is the rent?
It's 15.
I mean, monthly lease.
Yeah, it's $1,552.
$1,552 per month. What do you have to say about this, Ms. Morgan?
Well, all of the appliances were new. The floor was new. It was a corner apartment. The rate was really, really affordable. Frankly, I was really excited to move into this apartment. I thought it was
So
going to
it's
be
a
a
corner
great
apartment, upstairs, downstairs?
first floor.
Okay, was it on the corner of the street?
Correct.
Coming up,
When I got home from my first day at work, I go to pull into my assigned parking spot, and there were gentlemen already parked in that spot. I pleasantly asked them, I'm new into the building, I'm sorry, but could you move? They absolutely said no, and they started screaming at me.
You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Joelle Parker, who is suing Ashley Morgan for breach of contract.
What did you do to find out about the neighborhood?
Well, we did a walkthrough of the apartment, which included walking around the premises. She showed me my parking spot. She showed me where the laundry room was, just kind of getting me familiar with the building. But what she failed to mention was that after dark, it is a completely different experience living in that building.
So the night came when you moved in.
Yes.
And you've had an experience. What happened?
Well, I guess it was the noise, to be honest. Being on the first floor, every time I would open the windows, there would be a lot of ruckus coming from that street corner. I guess that was maybe a space where people like to hang out, smoke marijuana. I saw people exchanging money for little baggies. I saw police being called. And that was only the first night.
Okay.
When I got home from my first day at work, I go to pull into my assigned parking spot that she's given me and promised that no one would be parking in, and there were gentlemen already parked in that spot. I pleasantly asked them, I'm new into the building, I'm sorry, but could you move? They absolutely said no, and they started screaming at me. Then as I was walking into my apartment, some creepy guy says to me, hi neighbor, I haven't seen you around before. Really menacing, really uncomfortable. I think I've just got to get used to this. You're a big girl, you can handle this. So I go, I sleep another night. By that Friday night, there's gunfire. There is actual cross gunfire outside my open window.
And what did you do after you heard the gunfire? The night you heard gunfire, what'd you do?
The next morning, I woke up and I emailed Miss Parker.
And told her you were moving?
Yes.
Judge Mablean's verdict when Justice with Judge Mablean returns. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
One of the things that bothers me the most about this job is folks always walking in here blaming someone else for their conduct and wanting someone else to take responsibility for their lives and for what they want. You know you. You know the kind of place and home you were looking for. You know what you wanted to live in. You know what kind of peace you wanted. You know the type of neighborhood you wanted. Those are the things you decide. There is neighborhood watch groups. There is police logs that tell you about neighborhoods and blogs. There are bloggers who tell you about neighborhoods. But that is your responsibility, not hers. So it's not unreasonable. She's not saying you can move on a lease for safety's sake, but you have to give reasonable notice. A day is not reasonable notice. So you could have given her notice that I'm going to move in 30 days and stayed in a hotel. Judgment for the plaintiff.
All rise.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $3,104.
Next time you want to do your due diligence before you obligate on a legal binding document that you're going to lease a piece of property.
Thank you.
That's all I got to say.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.